Are you ready?
Let's do it.
We talk predictions 2023.
I love it.
Okay, let's go. Today we're going to talk about the predictions, subscription predictions for 2023. Welcome to the Paywall Podcast, episode 32. I'm here with Tyler Channel from Paywall Project. And welcome, Tyler.
Hey, Pete.
We're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in 23 for paid subscriptions. And if you've been listening to us, you know that we like to nerd out about all kinds of things to generate new digital revenues from your audience. And when I was originally thinking about this, it was the end of last year. It was December, but December got really quiet. Everyone, I think, got into holiday mode, and the sort of frantic pace of getting stuff done with new and existing clients got a little quiet. And so we ended up focusing on different things. And then this January, it has just exploded in activity. There's like a race to set up subscription systems or replace them and work with. We just got off the call with a news publisher in the Netherlands who's looking to improve free registrations and paid subscriptions. And it's really been crazy. And it's been interesting to reflect on, okay, what just happened over the last 2 weeks? And a lot of that really does lead to our predictions that we're going to talk about. And so the other thing we did is I went away and said, I'm going to pick 3 things to talk about that I see happening this year. And Tyler, I think you did about the same thing, maybe more, but let's see where we overlap. Now, you want to start with your first one? I think it might be one that's, really what we think is fairly obvious, maybe not what you think. Go ahead. Just jump in.
Yeah. So when I think about this stuff, I think about it in terms of local news. That's where my brain is. That's my audience. Those are my clients. And people listening to this podcast might seem like this or feel like this is obvious, but more paid subscriptions in general, I think is something that we're going to continue to see, whether it's local news or magazines or any journalism related type publication. So just more paid recurring subscriptions.
Are you working with publishers that are coming in that don't have, let's say, digital subscriptions set up?
All the time. Yeah.
And has there been any trend in terms of the volume of publishers from last year into this year for paid subscriptions?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think in general, there's just been first couple of weeks of 2023, like Leaky Paywall, I've seen a lot of local news publishers just wanting to get a system up and running ASAP. 2023 must be the year for them to finally adopt this sustainable method.
What's the rush? You mentioned ASAP. Is there a particular pain point or something burning that needs to happen now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it comes down to revenue streams. They're seeing their peers do it and seeing others have success with it. And especially, I talk about the Welch News all the time. They're in a small, teeny tiny town. It's a very depressed town. And they are still able to make a sizable amount of money from recurring subscriptions. So I think when other smaller news publishers, most of the publishers I work with are 1 to 4 employees total. When they see someone like the Welch News have success in a small town in West Virginia where it should not work, it makes it easier for them to take the leap. And honestly, it's not that expensive to do. It's not. Setting up a paywall is, fairly affordable to do. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah. If you work with Tyler at Paywall Project. Right.
Yeah.
Which, that's a compliment to you. If you guys don't know, what Tyler is doing for us and for Paywall Project. He's got it all going. So a whole bunch of local news publishers setting up subscription platforms, having a lot of success. That's Paywall Project. If you're looking for a turnkey system, Tyler's your man. And then Tyler's our new CMO here, working on marketing, of course, with the podcast and helping publishers succeed. I think it's been a fun ride so far. And
Yeah.
we do so much work with news publishers that really, that's what spawned this channel. There's work to do, lots of opportunities. And anyway, I lost my train of thought. Where I was going.
That was a wonderful plug. A plug for Paywall Project and me.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, you're doing it. You're doing it right. And you're doing success with it. And we're all learning from each other. So that's
for sure
why we do these things. So I'll take the next one. You're totally right. We see the lead influx from publishers that don't have any systems actually still very strong. So turning those on. But the thing that I see with publishers that do have some sort of a subscription system set up, and typically these are larger news and magazine publishers that have a pretty aggressive advertising on their websites, is they're coming in and I'm hearing lots of things like things aren't just working right. These are bugs. And what it boils down to is the experience that the reader gets on the website isn't what they publisher's audience is gold. It's something to really be nurtured. And unfortunately, advertising, which was the original strategy generating digital revenues, has created lots of pop-up wars between readers and the publisher, where the former strategy was, let's interrupt the reader experience as much as possible in order to get them to look at ads, even just like signing up for newsletters, or maybe setting up a system where you're sending folks off to a third party for payments, or it's gotten to the point where almost 40% of viewers on the web have ad blockers installed and are really tired of it. So the experience has not been great, is probably a good way to put it. And what I'm seeing is that publishers are looking for a more seamless experience, just a better experience for their readership.
And as they should be. When you start to charge money for access to content, the last thing you want to do is bombard people with pop-ups and slide in ads and just interrupt everything. There's, I think, a new focus on the user experience for sure.
Yeah, it's just, and they're simple things, easily correctable things. Like you're going to a registration page and you get a pop-up for a newsletter. It's like, wait a second, I'm all right. Or you're finally at the payment screen and there's an ad that slides in and gets in the way. These things you just can't do it these days. You just lose your audience when you do that. We as a population, we have less time and we expect a better experience. And the right way to build paid subscriptions is to build that to build a relationship. And which is what we talk about all the time. That casual reader, like the hardcore readers will subscribe. Then there's a group of readers that'll never subscribe. And then you have everybody in the middle, I call super casuals, and they're the ones that are interested. They're just not ready. And therefore you have to build a relationship, and you can't build a relationship by ticking people off when they come to your website, confusing them or whatever it is. Yeah. So anyway, that's my prediction. I see it already cleaning up. One of the things we've been doing lately is we help publishers onboard, get everything set up and get their systems going. But then we always loop back and do a review of what's going on. And there's always things to improve. And removing the pop-ups. And a lot of it is just legacy software that's getting in the way.
Yeah.
Turning things off and then getting that registration flow to collect the email addresses. And with this publisher in the Netherlands, we were looking at, if you're looking at my screen now, this new extension we just came out with called quick registration. So it's just short code driven. You can drop it in like on the subscription message, which is here on the T Journey publication, where you just, okay, well, let's start the relationship by getting an email registration. Okay. Email address, password, boom, you're done. Hit submit. And now you're registered and you get whatever. So these kinds of like details for creating that experience are becoming more and more important for publishers, and for good reasons, because it actually works.
Yeah.
Actually works. Okay. I think I covered seamless. All right. You want to take another one?
Yeah. I'm actually going to do my number 3 option, which is it's a segue to what you're talking about here. And that is more deplatforming, de-SaaSifying your paywall experience. And I think part of that is not so much because the SaaS platforms charge a application fee or revenue share, but also because the experience inside of those platforms are not great, and they are sometimes riddled with pop-ups, and they don't function, and the login doesn't work, and the subscriptions aren't updating. And then all of a sudden the SaaS platform decides that, oh, by the way, we're not really that focused on news publishers anymore. We're going to go after this different segment. And now here you are left inside of this SaaS monster that you can't get out of. Something I think we will continue to see is publishers that are already tangled up in platforms, the SaaS platforms, for their paywalls. I think we'll continue to see them migrate out of those systems to a more open source type environment.
I'm going to define the SaaS platform here for those who don't know what that is. That's a system where, let's say I subscribe on your website, that data gets sent off to a different company. And then your information lives in the cloud at a different organization, and perhaps your subscriptions as well.
Yep.
And sometimes your payments.
Yep. I see it all the time. I see publishers who are inside of those platforms and they don't actually even have their own Stripe accounts or PayPal accounts, just getting payments from the platform, which is great. I think as a starting point, when you're just getting going, you want to dip your toes into subscriptions, but it does become a liability long-term when you start to grow. It can hinder you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. I talked to a pretty good sized publisher last Friday, and I'm sorry to say, they're thinking lawsuit. It's gotten that ugly.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that for anybody, but
it's
trouble.
You'll know. Yeah. It's certainly a gray area on trying to get your data out. This is a struggle with a lot of these platforms. It's okay. I made the decision. I want to go to WordPress and have a more open source experience. I need my subscribers out, but then you go into the back end of that SaaS platform and you export, and you don't have much data to work with. You don't have passwords, you don't have usernames, you don't have subscription IDs, you don't have things that you need in order to make that migration. So if there is a publisher that's listening to this, I would caution you on starting with SaaS platform. Maybe it's cheaper in the beginning to start that way, but in the long run, it's going to cost you.
Yep. Yeah, having control over your data, your subscribers, your subscriptions, right? Yep. Your audience and your money. I think those are fairly fundamental.
Yeah, and I think about it. You can think about this in terms of like Twitter audiences. Which is more valuable, a Twitter audience that has a million subscribers or followers or whatever they call it on your Twitter account, or the same amount of people on your newsletter.
Yeah, sure. Oh boy, that goes into social, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
is what publishers doing with social.
Yeah.
I got a comment not that long ago from a publisher who was really all into Facebook, and this was a sports publication. And he said, I just can't believe that I haven't focused on building my own email list, which I control 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time we were talking, he wasn't even asking for an email address to do his newsletter. And he was doing okay. Like, it was just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Forget the likes, forget the follows, get the newsletter, get the email going.
Absolutely. All right. I'll jump to my number 2. And that's, it's subscriber only newsletters.
Yeah.
So this is something that so paid newsletters have been around forever, right? Paper, print newsletters. We love packages of information. We're willing to pay for it if it's useful. And email newsletters are very similar. Substack has proven that email newsletters are here to stay. They've grown very quickly. They have a whole startup population of content creators that are using their platform for email. And publishers, I think, have always had that email. Join our newsletter, the email newsletter pop up, and then they send the news off to their audience. And that's good. That's great. Better than nothing. Leaning into that further with subscriber only newsletters is something that I already see happening. Every time I mention it to a publisher, they grab onto it in a heartbeat. And it's just happening everywhere around them. And there's so much opportunity because that newsletter generally is the number one source of conversions. And what I will just leave this thought with you. If you offer a free registration, which you absolutely should, check out our previous podcasts about that, which I think is all of them, because it's that important. But if you have a free registration and you have a paid subscription, by default, you already have a paid or premium or subscriber only newsletter, because your free registration should be segmented in, let's say, MailChimp or whatever you're using, to send out your free newsletter, which has advertising on it to sell your subscription. So if I get your free newsletter, you're going to say, hey, upgrade for full access and get our subscriber only newsletter, right? That's what you should be doing, and whatever other benefits. And then on the subscriber only newsletter side, you will not have advertising in it because it's going to paid subscribers. And you may do something like just publish full text. And that's your subscriber only newsletter. No ads, full text. You don't have to click anywhere. You don't have to log in anywhere. It's a convenience to your paid subscribers, and they'll love it. So paid subscriber only newsletters.
Yep. Yep. When you were talking about all of this, I was thinking about how newsletters for publishers became this, or in the beginning, it's just this thing that we were doing, and we're sending out information, but we're not getting much in return. But now the newsletter is probably the single most important part of your operation. So
yes. It is the start of the relationship. Yep. Absolutely. The website is the start, but the newsletter is the first conversion.
Yeah.
First inflection.
Yeah.
All right. So that's my second. Do you have a third?
I do have a third, and this one kind of is around traffic and like where traffic is coming from on local news sites and in general, and maybe just news sites, magazine sites across the board. A trend that I was noticing in late last year is a lot of the referring traffic is coming not so much from social media anymore. And all of the publishers I work with publish on Facebook, and not all of them do on Twitter, but some of them do. But the vast majority of their traffic is coming direct and through Google. And I think that we will continue to see a trend in that direction. Not so much because people aren't getting news on Facebook. I think they still are, but I think social platforms are adjusting their algorithms in a way to deprioritize news.
That's
And,
true.
and so people are finding their news. I think it's actually doing local news a favor in that, in news in general, and that people are going direct to you. They're not sifting through the vortex of social storms to find you. They know who you are. They're going directly to you. They're cutting through the noise. They're on your newsletter. They're in your ecosystem more so than living on the social platforms.
Interesting. So are you seeing Google with your crew, your
Yep.
local news publishers? Are you seeing Google as the number one source? Are
Yeah.
newsletters ranking for you?
It's mainly Google right now. Not all of my publishers. That's one of my other points on newsletters. I'm still working with a lot of them to get their newsletter operations in line, but Google and just people searching the sites like Welch News on Google and going direct to the site. That's a very common way for folks to find.
Yep. Okay. Which kind of brings up a possible SEO play there, but
Yeah.
I find that with Google and subscriptions, like the more you publish, the more traffic you get from Google.
Yeah.
The more traffic you get, the more paid subscribers you get. It's like a formula, easy formula.
Yeah. And these publishers, they're not running Google News. They're not like in partnership with Google. There's no special relationship. It's just
Right.
That's what's happening naturally. And
Yep.
I think it's great. The more that publishers take ownership over their audience and build their newsletters and get traffic direct,
Yeah.
the better off we're going to be in this local news paid subscription environment.
Yeah. There's a big payoff with a solid newsletter that's
Yep.
worked.
Yep.
And even with, so this, just because I had this conversation earlier, it's fresh, this Netherlands publisher, and they're a pretty big news publisher. He puts out about 5 articles a day. He's absolutely willing to rejigger his newsletter to provide full text to his paid subscribers. And that's the kind of effort that pays off because it's automated, right? And it's so important. So your newsletter is probably your number one conversion tool for paid subscriptions. Get it right. Spend time on it, man. Yeah, because once you're done spending the time on it and your free newsletter is going out, it is the right messaging, and your paid newsletter is going out, it's got the right messaging. You can walk away from it for a good amount of time, and it'll just convert paid, just boom. And he went from before we helped him configure Leaky Paywall, he went from about 200 newsletter subscribers coming on board every month to almost 2,000 now when he launched the free registration.
Wow. Yeah.
It's really important to focus on that newsletter.
Yep. Your newsletter is the new social media. If there's anything that I would suggest a publisher doing, I would focus more of my time on the newsletter and forget the social media posting. And I'm going to get slammed for saying that, but that's, in my perfect world, your newsletter is your social platform. And that's all, in my perfect universe, that's all that we would participate in.
Yeah. Tyler's perfect universe. We all want to live there. Very happy place.
Yeah. The wonderful world.
Nice. All right. So my third and last prediction for 23 is something I didn't expect, actually. And that's selling ad-free plans on your website. So I'm just going to flip over to this Swedish publisher, Somnit, and if you get Plus, which is their paid subscription, you'll see that you have your ad-free. This is just Google Translate changing this. And they have 10% of their subscriber base is now paying more just to hide ads. And it's run the numbers, it's 40% more than their regular plan. And it's going very well. And they've been doing this for over a year. I have talked to several other publishers some solicited from me that are now considering hiding ads for a premium plus type of a paid subscription. Now, if you caught me a year ago, I was banging my head against the wall saying, "Hey, this is something you guys should do." Nobody wanted to do it. Ad revenue is so important. We can't hide the ads. We have to show the ads. I feel like maybe there's enough pain has now and suffering has happened with the lack of ad revenue that publishers are finally ready to explore new options. And I think it's like Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like you start by setting up paid subscriptions. Okay. So now you get some subscribers rolling in. What's next? Okay. Let's you back up, you set up, talk about the relationship, set up a free registration. Maybe you start working with getting the newsletter strategy. Okay, great. And now what else? Now you start talking about other options. And the thing about advertising that just shocked me is it's like the sacred cow, right? Don't touch it. Put it everywhere. But it's just killing the experience with pop-ups and all that, which sort of makes sense, right? Now, okay, I'm selling subscriptions. At some point, they probably got hit in the face by subscribers. Stop with the pop-ups, or I hate these ads. We all hate ads. We have ad blockers. 40% of us. And so these ad-free plans, when I've talked to publishers last year and even in the last couple of weeks about it, they're like, yeah, that's a good idea, which that sort of surprised me. It really surprised me. So something's changed. And I think we're going to see more of it.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the more that publishers see other media platforms, like, for example, I subscribe to Discovery Plus and can't get enough of HGTV.
Mhm.
I would not go for their $4.99 plan that includes ads. I just could not handle that. So $6.99, a couple dollars more for no ads. Oh, heck yeah. Sign me up for that.
Yeah. Time is valuable to you, right? You don't want to waste time being annoyed.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is, I think, true for most of us today, where that's the thing we keep running out of. As the world gets more complicated, we just keep having less time to do the things we want. So yeah, the motivation is high to not be bothered by, for sure. All right. That's great. Those are things to think about for this year. I'd say I think that's a pretty good list of priorities for this year. If you are especially a news publisher or magazine publisher, to consider those trends that are happening, and they will pay off in the long run. So thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Till next time. We'll catch you later. Okay, cool. Let's stop recording here. How do I do this? Pause, stop recording, stop. They changed the interface.